So processing those heavier emotions like anger, resentment, guilt, shame, even fear and anxiety can be really hard to work around. I am a big fan and a big proponent of mental health care, of talk therapy. I think it's really helpful to have somebody else help you process your feelings and make sense of the sometimes complicated world within. And I, of course, love bringing the support and the allyship of the plant spirits into this work. And so this week I want to talk about tree confessions, how to relieve ourselves of these heavier emotions through the help of our plant friends. This was the perfect class to film at one of my favorite stands of white pine trees, but the weather had different plans, and in order to get the class out on time, we're doing it indoors, but I will find other opportunities to take you out to these spaces that I enjoy and to introduce you to the very trees that have helped me create and refine this ritual over time. So what I want to talk about in this week's Free Friday community class is a simple method that we can use while working with our plant spirit allies, especially trees, to help unwind and lighten and ease some of the heavier emotions that we deal with. And this particular ritual, this particular working or perspective even came to me around working through some of my own shame about mental health issues and personal limitations and all of the shoulds and shoulds and shoulds that we put on ourselves. And I realized over time that it was really helpful as well in just dealing with lots of different emotions, anger and resentment and jealousy, and just all those emotions that when they come in and they settle, they feel like a bowling ball, in the pit of our stomach. They don't feel good to have. And I think they're important to have, but I think those are the kinds of emotions that we should move through and move with rather than crystallize and just sit on, right? Those are emotions that, to me, are biofeedback. They're coming in with heaviness and loudness and discomfort to alert us to the fact that something's not right. And oftentimes they point to something being not right that would be really easy for us to overlook. And that's generally those ways that we go against ourselves, right? That we feel guilt and shame and resentment, and we pile up that heaviness on ourselves. And so it's really easy for us to sweep it under the carpet and just say, oh, I deserve to feel this way. I deserve to suffer. I don't deserve to be happy, or whatever. Those emotions come in and make us uncomfortable, I believe, to try to help us realize what we're internalizing, to help us realize what we're doing, because it's so easy for it to happen under the radar and to just become part of our operating system before we realize what's even happened. So there can be layers of gratitude, I guess is what I'm trying to say, for some of these emotions, as uncomfortable and even painful as they can be. But I think they should be worked through and processed. And so I want to share with you a very simple method that I really find valuable. You can do this any time of year with really any plant, but I have found that big, healthy, old trees have a perspective and a presence that seems to be more effective for this particular work than smaller plants or herbs or shrubs. Of course, you might have different experiences and I would love to hear about them, but I encourage you to go out and find that, towering cottonwood tree or pine or oak or juniper or whoever, and do this work with them. I'm going to link down in the details below to a class that I did recently on circumambulation magic, which was a class that I got some of the most powerful feedback on it kind of goes hand in hand with what we're going to talk about today. So if you want to take this work deeper, go watch that one next. It's here on YouTube. So that's there. So I call this practice tree confessions for a reason. I really look at it as a therapeutic, cleansing, purifying process of confession. I know that word and that idea of confession can be weighty for a lot of people, that, you know, it gets used in some religious contexts that are oftentimes not really supportive to people's experiences, and that sometimes the very thing that it's supposed to be fixing, it actually makes worse, right? Because it's just compounding layers of guilt and shame on top of what you're already dealing with. So I want to make clear that this is separate than that, right? That we're using that word, but our ritual is very different. And the idea is that trees are incredibly patient listeners. They are not going anywhere fast, right? They are present and aware of you, that you are there. They have a perspective that is both physically massive. They stand up above the canopy and they can see things quite literally from a larger perspective than we can. But also there is that immortal aspect of trees where, because most of them live over generations, it feels like they've been there forever. And so just as we would seek the wisdom of a wise older person in our lives, a grandparent or an old teacher, because they've been there, done that, we can also find that same power in our tree friends. They've, in their own way, witnessed it all. They've seen it all. And some of the weightier, heavier emotions that we carry are aligned in some of the green mysteries to the ways that these trees can help break down and compost material, breaking it down into its parts, getting it back into a form that is much less volatile and toxic. So they will listen to you, and they will do it without judgment. They will let you dump and dump and dump as much as you need to. Trees, for folks who do tree work, know that they are storytellers, that they speak slowly and they speak at length. And so when we approach them in the same way, willing to tell the whole story, willing to unpack the minutia that we don't want to burden our friends and family with, and sometimes even in therapy, we feel a little off about, because somewhere in the back of our mind, the like clock is ticking. We're like, we got 60 minutes. How much of the story do I want to tell, right? You can take your time with trees. And I think that in processing these heavy emotions, there's some power in being able to just take your time, right? To just not have to hurry, to be able to listen to yourself, say what you want to say and feel what you want to feel, and see what comes up, and be able to sit with that and take a beat if you need to. There's power there. And the fact that you are ideally sitting on the earth, sitting on the ground, bare feet if you can, puts you in connection to the mysteries of compost. It opens us up to a better ability to let go of things, to release things back into the soil where they can be broken down and reprocessed. So this ritual of tree confessions is very simple. I like to, again, find a tree that I feel comfortable with, that feels like the right fit. I will generally do some on-the-spot dowsing or divination, or just, heart-to-heart communication to ask that tree if what I'm about to do, if I have their consent, their permission. And from there, I need to slow down to tree speed, right? So what I like to do is sit down, lay down, put my back up against the tree if I'm able, and just hang out. Like, park it in neutral and be aware, consign myself to the idea that I'm going to spend 5 minutes doing nothing. I'm not going to think. I'm not going to ruminate. I'm not going to fidget. I'm just going to be in the space, sharing my breath with the tree sharing their breath with me, feeling how it feels in the space, getting comfortable in my body, adjusting as I need to, being aware of the sounds and the animals and the insects and the colors and the textures, just being there, just being there for 5 or so minutes brings you into rapport with the tree and that tree's environment, right? Remember that in these moments, we are a guest in a space where the tree lives all the time. So we need to be responsible to slow ourselves down to the space rather than walking into the space and expecting all of those spirits who live there all the time to cater to our presence, right? This is a big part of dismantling human exceptionalism, that we have to see ourselves as guest in these rituals to the host of spirits who live there all the time. So we spend that 5 minutes. I like to set a time because I think it quiets my brain, right? If I say I'm going to do this for 5 minutes, nothing's going to happen. I'm just going to be here and try to become part of what's happening, right? Try to be a good guest and find my seat at the table and sit down and become part of the group, right? That's the end goal here. And then what I encourage you to do, this is the hard part. And this in and of itself is a radical act of therapy. It's a radical act of ritualistic self-love, is you just start venting. Say what needs to be said that you can't say to anybody else, and maybe you haven't even been able to say to yourself. Let it come out. Maybe it's more thought released, but I really like to verbalize, so you're going to need to find a space where you can feel comfortable. You don't have to scream, but you got to be somewhere where you can speak openly and feel comfortable to do that. And just open the floodgates, let all the thoughts, all the feelings, all the beliefs, all that heaviness, give it form, let it out, get it shaken up, stir the tank and let it out, give it word, and just follow it, right? There's not really a way that you can step by step this. It's a confessional, right? So the whole idea is to get vulnerable and get raw and just open the faucet and let it go. When I do this ritual, it almost always ends up in ugly crying, and I hope yours does too, because ugly crying is very therapeutic. And as your tears fall to the soil, there is a magic that happens that you will feel in these moments. And you will go through waves of feeling lighter and heavier in these moments, and that's normal too. Again, I shouldn't say it's normal because there's really no normal here. Everyone's experience is really personal. And it's you sitting in this sacred space with this tree, and you're just saying all the things that need to be said. You're getting everything off your chest. You're, unpacking your backpack. You're unburdening your shoulders to this tree person who is sitting there acting as witness, acting as protector, acting as space holder for you. Sitting under their canopy, sitting above their root complex, you are held in this sphere of power, in this sphere of safety and wisdom and radical acceptance, forgiveness and permission and love and giving and nourishment. All of that's happening. So there is no better space to open up and let it go, let it come out. And it doesn't mean you're going to walk away from these moments feeling like a breakthrough happened, feeling 100% better, feeling like a different person. You might walk away feeling pretty raw, feeling like you got some perspective, you saw some things from an angle that you didn't realize they were happening, and now where the work needs to be done. Now you can move into that plant medicine, that other ritual. You have some wisdom you can take with you to your next therapy session and say, look, I saw myself from an angle that I haven't seen myself from. I saw my stuff from a perspective that I haven't seen before. It's very helpful, and it fast tracks our ability to move through some of this stuff. I'm really dedicating the nice weather seasons, because I like to be comfortable, the spring and summer and early autumn, to this work. I'm going to try to make it a point to get out once a week and just get stuff off my chest, and not carry this stuff around that's not mine, or that doesn't serve me, or that is there as biofeedback to teach me something, to help me become aware of something that's happening. It's not there for me to personalize. It's not there for me to punish myself with. That's not what this stuff is about. So end your tree confession rituals with gratitude, no matter how you feel. If you feel heavier than you did when you got there, be grateful for it. Something's in there for you. If you feel light and released and healed, if the pain you walked in with has dissipated, even easier to feel grateful, right? Give thanks to the tree, make an offering, share breath, sing a song, place your palms and just share some of your vital energy, your love with that tree, whatever feels right. That's what should be done. We want to make sure that as good guests, we reciprocate the blessings of the hosts of that space who have given so freely to us. And really, over the next day or two, the next few nights, you will come to realize just how much actually happened in those moments. You may not feel a lot in the moment. You may feel everything in the moment, but what has actually taken place, the rings and layers that have been addressed, will start to become apparent as the world around you starts to shift and reflect what has changed and what is now possible based on the work that you've done. This is shadow work done in the shadow of trees and under the shadowy canopy of our tree allies. This for me is real shadow work when we're getting down into the roots of things. So please explore that, see how it feels. Start out small, start out big, listen to your body, honor yourself, and see where this medicine takes you. If you are interested in this content, if you want to get in on our monthly advanced classes, our recurring courses, and all of that, I would love for you to come join us over on Patreon. And we do these free Friday classes every week right here on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed, please do that so that you don't miss anything and so that I know you're out there watching. And with that, blessings of peace and plenty. I'll see you next time.